Good early morning, everybody. It's Lorraine Alternative Homesteading on September 10, 2025. Once again, this was supposed to be recorded on September 9, 2025. But you know, the local criminals are control freaks and they like to put people to sleep, put me to sleep, to impair my ability to do the things that I need to do and to also control my sleep. Case in point, I'm going to read part 3, Targeted Individuals, Targeting Civilians with Directed Energy, Crisis Unseen, the program, and this is by Sami Dia, Samidia. So I'm reading from the website crisisunseen.com, the program, Targeted Individuals. It's 2025. This is an open access publication. You can download it. The book is licensed under the terms of the Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. The thumbnail will be compliments of Kevin and AI, and this little mini art is by Linda Russell, Linda's Art Angels. So here we go. I'm going to continue reading about a remote neuromonitoring and targeted individuals. Some areas that are targeted through malicious and insidious interference. The program systemically slows the TI's progress, sabotages opportunities and stability, and drains time and resources throughout their lifetime. Most TIs are unemployed, and many have become homeless at some point. If a TI manages to secure employment, the job will often be much below the level they had before targeting became overt, and maintaining it will be challenging or impossible. Despite the TI's best efforts, the program is fluid and adaptive, enforcing a limit to their ability. The program will try to isolate the TI and weaken their relationships with family, friends, romantic partners, and others. It punishes, impairs, or otherwise targets the TI while socializing or being in social settings. Socializing will often be made unenjoyable and relationship sabotage from behavioral manipulation. Do you hear that? Behavioral manipulation. The program is always successful at doing this to a large extent. Additionally, the TI is often conditioned to stop hobbies. Even hobbies done in isolation will be punished, and the TI will be made to underperform. The program will target the TI with DE, directed energy, in a way that make them appear or become emotional, incompetent, unreliable, untrustworthy, indecisive, suggestible, mentally ill, and lacking good judgment. It sounds like a projection, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound like all the things that they are? The program will systemically and insidiously target the TI's individual factors that influence their credibility every day. The program enforces a limit on the TI's image, ability to influence, and will adapt to increased effort put in by the target. The program sleep deprives most TIs through inducing directed energy effects. TIs regularly report allowed less than 4 hours of sleep per day. To prevent the TI, targeted individual, from sleeping, they can be tortured, disrupted, or their psychological and physiological state can be altered. This is sometimes referred to as sleep deprivation torture. Following the TI's short sleep, the program usually induces directed energy effects that make them more alert and remove feedback for the need to sleep. It will sometimes reduce these DE effects, and the targeted person will instantly feel tired from their lack of sleep. The program prefers to manipulate a TI to discredit and neutralize them by their own reactions to targeting. It doesn't always aim to directly and objectively neutralize the target. Directed energy effects will be done to, for example, make the target distressed or insecure, to indirectly manipulate the target to react badly. If a TI manages to avoid traps and correctly directs their maximum effort, their targeting will be adjusted to maintain the limit to their ability. The program is fluid and will adapt to enforce the limit. TIs often report increased targeting during activism, such as when reporting their targeting or raising awareness about the program. The TI will be targeted from a fundamental level, from their eye contact, voice, and behaviors to their communication and cognitive abilities, to their social life, career, and more. Aren't they lovely creatures? Control freaks, for sure. Number 4, remote neural monitoring. Currently deployed against the public is technology that can remotely surveil a person's thoughts, emotions, and senses. This technology is known as remote neural monitoring, or RNM, and it works by remotely reading and decoding the electrical signals emitted by the human brain and nervous system, allowing for the extraction of information. This can be done to civilians anywhere, including residential areas and buildings in the United States and Europe. An ex-NSA whistleblower, John Akwei, A-K-W-E-I, warned the public that this technology has been deployed since the early 1980s. And this is confirmed by independent reports from thousands of TIs. One of the earliest known reports of RNM come from a TI named Dorothy Burdick in her 1982 book, Such Things Are Known. In her book, she describes her verbal thoughts being remotely read along with being targeted with directed energy effects. Since the time of Burdick's book, remote neural monitoring has advanced beyond what she describes and can capture other information such as visual imagery. This technology can work without the target's awareness and doesn't require any device on or near the target's body. RNM can monitor thoughts that are verbal, visual, and more. This technology is precise and can identify entities, for instance, people, objects, and concepts, words, phrases, inner speech, visual imagery, intentions, movement plans, and more. There doesn't appear to be a type of thought that remote neural monitoring will not capture. Every silent planning, reasoning through problems, visualizing, and reflecting on past events can be eavesdropped. Imagine how sinister this is. This is so sinister, such an invasion of privacy. Additionally, it can monitor the target's senses, such as what they see and hear, along with the emotions of the target. Together, all this information gained about the target through their electrical activity provides a comprehensive view for the program. The program accumulates the remote neural monitoring data of a target over their lifetime. Through this data, the program has an extensive understanding of the target and can predict their behavior, thoughts, and feelings to situations. It knows the target's values, goals, and personality. It exploits the target's vulnerabilities, fears, misunderstandings, and irrational thought patterns. Malicious interference. Remote neural monitoring is a passive technology that is used to augment the use of directed energy effects. RNM and other monitoring technologies are an important part of the program, providing directional guidance, real-time feedback, and expanded capabilities. It gives the program knowledge about the target and the environment for the appropriate directed energy effects to be used. This technology gives the capability to induce a directed energy effect at approximately the speed of a given thought occurring. TIs report being induced directed energy effects that show knowledge of what they are thinking or actions they are performing, or like where my checkbook is in my house so that they can steal it. For example, a target can be induced voice-to-skull transmissions that comment on their thoughts, a physiological manipulation to manifest the target's thought physically, or induced cognitive dysfunction on specific thoughts. RNM is used to aid in neutralizing. I'm sorry. I thought there was I thought that ended. Remote neural monitoring is used to aid in neutralizing TIs by enhancing the use of directed energy effects. The program continuously surveils the target. In addition, the program also maps the physiology of the target and their environment, even inside enclosed areas, which is how they're able to locate things inside your residence that nobody should know are there. The program also leverages remote neural monitoring to sabotage plans made by the TI. This technology can be used with directed energy effects to disrupt, impair, and misrepresent the target. For TIs, the program's constant interference and communication to the target's thoughts, senses, and behaviors is disruptive. It takes up their time. It's distressing to be reminded of such surveillance. The thoughts and emotions of a target can be manifested through a directed energy effect, such as forcing a target to speak their inner thoughts or emotions. Additionally, remote neural monitoring and other monitoring technologies give the information about the target's behavior that is used for conditioning. For example, thoughts that are beneficial to the target can be continuously punished while allowing other thoughts leading the target to eventually change their thought patterns. These people are control freaks. These are just some of the ways remote neural monitoring and other surveillance technology is being used on civilians. Imagine all the people that don't know that they're targeted. Cognitive dysfunction. Cognitive dysfunction is a decline in cognitive processes such as memory and language comprehension. Directed energy can cause cognitive dysfunction by either causing a brain injury or from actively induced functional disruption, which can vary in severity. There are various aspects of cognition that can be impaired in a target. Actively induced cognitive dysfunction does not behave like brain injury. On induction, it quickly impairs the target and quickly resolves when halting the directed energy effect, like a light switch, like putting somebody to sleep, turning it on and off. These targeted effects can be done on various aspects of cognition, such as memory and language comprehension. Different sets of cognitive processes can be impaired intermittently, such as allowing memory while weakening comprehension. Many TIs have been sensitized to identifying these effects from being chronically and overtly targeted. However, these effects are also often covertly done to where a target would attribute it to natural cognitive lapses and natural cognitive states or not noticed. Well, I would venture to say that most targeted people realize that whatever is happening to them, none of which is naturally occurring. A target's executive functions can be impaired with directed energy which are the cognitive processes that are essential for controlling and managing thoughts, emotions, and actions in order to achieve goals. One component of executive function that targeted people report being commonly impaired is the working memory, which enables the individual to temporarily hold and manipulate information in their mind. For example, working memory can be impaired to not allow the target to finish reading a sentence without forgetting what was already read. Another component of executive function that can be impaired is inhibition, which allows someone to suppress or override automatic, impulsive, or a habitual response. While inhibition is compromised, targets may struggle to stop automatic responses, filter out distractions, or suppress irrelevant thoughts. Impairments of such fundamental executive functions lead to difficulties in higher order cognitive processes that depend on them, such as planning, problem solving, critical thinking, and decision making. Additionally, memory retrieval, particularly when it's strategic, controlled, or effortful, often depends on executive function and may indirectly be affected when executive function is impaired. A target's ability to form or access any type of memory can be slowed or blocked for seemingly any duration with directed energy. This includes episodic memory, which is the ability to recall personal experiences and specific events from the past, including the context of time, place, and emotions associated with them. For example, an individual attempting to recall how they spent their time during a specific day of the week can be made to struggle or be unable to do so. Another type of memory that can be impaired is semantic memory, which is an individual's general world knowledge about facts, concepts, and meanings. An impairment of semantic memory can prevent the target from recalling knowledge they acquired over their lifetime, regardless of their level of expertise. This impairment of semantic memory can also hinder a target from actively retrieving or triggering mental frameworks, such as a sequence of actions in a specific context. For example, attending a job interview. A script includes arriving on time, introducing yourself, shaking hands, etc. Or it will be made difficult for a target to know how to act in social situations, even though they naturally would have done well. Also, an impairment can be induced to prevent the target from remembering to do something in the future. Inner speech can be prevented, which is a form of silent, verbal thinking that allows humans to engage with thoughts, plan actions, regulate emotions, and reflect on experiences. Other cognitive processes can be impaired and manipulated include emotional regulation, reward processing, mental imagery, and motor coordination. The severity of the selected induced cognitive dysfunction, CD, can be applied with precision. For example, the level of working memory impairments can range from shallow processing of the information to failing to remember information upon a minor disruption to being unable to finish reading a sentence while remembering it. And you know these minor disruptions are plans. You'll be in the middle of doing something important, and suddenly your phone will ring with a prank phone call, or suddenly you'll have a perp criminal honking horns or making noise outside of your window, right? Some TIs have reported experiencing persistent cognitive dysfunction from a single incident of a directed energy attack. This implies that some of the persistent cognitive dysfunction experienced by TIs might be related to damage from directed energy attacks. A TI named Dr. Len Baer, a retired medical doctor with over 30 years of experience in executive positions, is one of several civilians formally diagnosed with what is known as Havana syndrome. Havana syndrome is the result of a type of brain damage caused by directed energy, and only a few U.S. physicians are known to have given its diagnosis. Dr. Baer's ongoing DE attacks caused him to experience difficulty in working, stating, "All my attacks are domestic, highly debilitating, and resulted in my disability and early retirement." Repeated functional assessments on Dr. Baer's brain show delta wave activity while awake, while typically only occurs in deep sleep, indicating potential brain degradation. Dr. Baer is currently the global medical leader for Targeted Justice, a human rights organization for TIs. He manages a registry that, as of January 2025, includes 7 civilians formally diagnosed with Havana syndrome, all of whom have submitted their information to Targeted Justice. Malicious interference. Inducing cognitive dysfunction is a significant part of neutralizing a targeted individual. Everything mentioned about induced CD is being applied across a variety of behaviors, activities, and thoughts to neutralize a target. TIs are often given damage-related CD, and aspects of their cognition are being impaired daily for long periods. There is a less regard for whether a TI notices the induced CD, even though it is also done in a covert manner. Induced cognitive decline can be done to guarantee sabotage, to weaken the target to specific situations, and making them more vulnerable to making mistakes. TIs report heavy interference to their communication abilities from induced CD, which can be used to illustrate how induced CD is being used on civilians. The program can increase or decrease it at specific times, leading a target to speak less on certain topics and more on others. Their thoughts can be made disorganized, and their ability to produce fluent speech can be strategically hindered, resulting in fragmented or incomplete sentences at critical moments. While the target is listening, words are kept in mind to be spoken can be actively erased, causing the inability to remember what to say. I mean, this is basically cruel treatment. Beyond this, the target can be made vulnerable to accepting topics and answering questions that would normally be rejected. A targeted speaker can be blocked from recalling knowledge or past events. Even those with extensive social experience can become impaired in basic interactions, as socially relevant memories and schemas are blocked. CD can be induced to make a social interaction very effortful and shallow, forcing the target to put excessive effort into formulating responses that are often lacking. At a given moment in a conversation, if the program wants the target to miss a critical piece of information, the target's comprehension can be made impaired. A target can be prevented from thinking anything other than what the speaker is saying, resulting in accepting the frame of another individual. Thoughts or words being held in working memory during a conversation can be actively erased or made vulnerable to being lost. The same types of impairments are applied to other areas of life, such as career, relationships, and activism. Even TIs with decades of professional experience, medical degrees, and other graduate-level degrees are being sabotaged into unemployment. TIs have reported interference from induced cognitive decline during interviews and on the job. The program will also interfere with the target's general functioning and survival, for example, by impairing driving, causing them to forget appointments, or making them miss daily tasks. This induction of CD is also used to condition a target. The program often induces CD in the target when they are performing or thinking about certain topics, activities, or behaviors, particularly those beneficial to the individual or undesirable to the program. I mean, this is pure control. This is slavery. For example, a target can be conditionally induced cognitive decline when thinking of a project, but allowed to think of unproductive thoughts. Such interference is used to steer a target's thinking, and when done for longer periods, the target can become conditioned to instinctively resort to avoid disallowed areas of thinking. This can happen without the target's awareness, or the target might make sense of the induced CD using their understanding of the world that doesn't involve directed energy. For example, this must be challenging for me, quote unquote, or I must not be interested in this project. There are a variety of different behaviors that are being conditioned through induced cognitive decline. A targeted individual is induced overt levels of CD, and their long-term memory, communication abilities, and other cognitive processes are often left impaired continuously, with additional CD induced as desired by the program. Even TIs who were previously highly competent are being made to struggle with basic tasks from induced CD. So I'm going to end here. The next topic that I will read about will be artificial sensory experiences. That'll be probably part 4. So this is the end of part 3. Crisis Unseen, the program. Targeted individuals. And I'm going to sign off for now. Please leave a comment down below. Share if you're inclined to do so, and I will talk to you guys soon.